Hi everyone and welcome to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this hexagon. It's kind of like a granny hexagon, but it has alternate rows. I made a square a little bit like this. I think it was called rubies and I'm going to call this one emeralds. This is the emeralds hexagon and I'm going to show you how to do this. But one thing I will say, when you make it, it does seem to bow a little bit and I think it needs blocking, or maybe when it would be sewn with others it would keep its shape more, but it does want to pull in at the sides a little bit, so I recommend blocking. But if like me you can't be bothered to block, then I think sewing it together will sort that out. But for this I'm just going to use some scrap yarn, and I've got all these greens and they are a DK weight, all of them. Most of them I have no idea where they came from, apart from this one, and I think this one are Signet yarn, and these I have no idea, but they're just bits and pieces left over from various projects that I've had over the time. So I'm also going to use a 4.5mm crochet hook, and I have my scissors and a darning needle for the ends. Now with this one you can work over the ends quite a lot, which is good. That's always a bonus for me. Hate sewing in ends if I can get away with it. So that's one thing. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. You'll be informed when there are new videos and tutorials, giveaways. At the end of this video I will put up a thumbnail link which links to all of my current giveaways, so if you want to have a look at those then please feel free. So I'm going to make a start on the centre of this particular granny square. Oh, it's granny hexagon, should I say, rather than square. So I'm going to make a hole for the centre. Sometimes you can make a magic loop and pull it tight, but I think if it was any tighter it would make this pucker an awful lot more than it does already. It's not too bad the way it kind of wants to pull, but any more and I think it would annoy me. So we'll take our lightest colour for the centre. You can use any colour scheme that you want. I just chose the main kind of colour for these little segments to be the dark one. I did that the same with the square that I've called rubies. If you want to check that out, I'll pop a link in for that square if you want to have a look at it. So for this particular hexagon I'm going to make a slip knot, and you can do that however you normally do and however you want. And I'm going to do a chain of 6, so that's yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through, and we need 6, so I need 2 more and I have 6. I'm going to make this into a ring by going into the very first chain. There's our knot. This is the first chain we did, and I'm going to insert my hook and yarn over and pull it through both the loops on my hook, and that's a slip knot. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry about that, I really needed to sneeze and it was creeping up on me, and I'm a very, very loud sneezer, so I thought I would spare you my trumpeting away, so sorry about that. Anyway, there's our ring. You can see that's our centre. So for this centre we have 6 clusters. The first one will comprise of 2 stitches and 2 chain to get us to the height. So what we do is we chain 2, and now we are as tall as our stitch is going to be, and I'm going to do a treble crochet in UK terms, and that's a double crochet in the US. So if you didn't know how to do that, it's yarn over into the center of the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop. I'm going over my tail as well, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. I'll show you one more time. Yarn over into the center of the ring, yarn over and pull through, so we've got 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now that looks like we have 3 treble crochets. Remember, that's a UK term, it's a double crochet for US. So we have the equivalent of 3. We're going to do 1 chain, and then we're going to do another cluster of 3. Going to work over that tail. So yarn over, just as we did before, and make our cluster of 3. If I go ahead of you, by all means pause and catch up to me. So now we do 1 more chain to separate them. So we've got 3, 1 chain, 3, 1 chain, and I'm going to pull it over because we need 6 lots in this ring. So we're going to do another 3, one more chain, another 3, and we're going to, as I said, have 6 sets of 3. I need to pull out more yarn. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We want 2 more, so that's 1 chain, and then 3 more, one chain. Now our last set of 3, I just pull it over slightly to make space for them if it starts to close up. Ending with 1 chain, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the second of our first 2 chain here. I'm just going to slip stitch into that stitch there, by yarn over and pull through, and now I'm going to end off that colour. And I don't know if you've noticed, but this circle in the centre is bigger than the one I made before. I did my chain looser because I wanted to show you, and I'm working on my own. I tend to be a bit tighter, I think. So I'm going to snip that off because it's going to get in the way, and we've worked over that tail. So I'm going to get this colour out the way before I get my next colour. I don't like them tangling up. I'm just balling that back up again. We won't be using that colour again, so this time I'm going to take our dark colour, and this one we will use a fair few times. So I'm going to pull out a bit of yarn, and you can join this to any of our chain spaces. Remember, we've got 3 chain and a 3 and a chain, so I would not join it to this one because then you have 2 tails and it's easier to bury them if there's just a 1. So I join it by pulling a loop through, and then I do a chain going over both of those loops. So that's the working yarn and the tail. So I don't do a massively baggy one, and that way it just sits nicely. So now I'm going to work over that tail a little bit, and I'm going to insert my hook into that gap, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. Now there was an extra loop on that hook just because of the way I joined my yarn, but what we're going to do now are double crochet in the UK terms, which is a single crochet in the US, and I'm going to do 1 chain and another one in the same gap. And just forget that tail now. So now we need to get to this gap. We've got 3 there and our chain space is here. So I'm going to chain 2, and then in this one here I'm going to do the same again. So I'm going to do my double crochet. Remember, that's the UK double and not the US double, and then I'm going to do 1 chain and another double crochet. So basically it's made a little tiny loop. I'm going to chain 2 and then find my next one and do that again. So that's 1 double crochet or US single, 1 chain and another, chain 2, I'm going to work over that yarn a little bit there. And one chain. So what we're doing here, we are preparing for corners, and we are treating every single space like it's a corner, because this is our first round, so every little gap does need to be a corner. And 2 chain into the last one, 1 chain, and now 2 chain, and we are going to slip stitch into our start. So we're back at the start. We're going to snip off this yarn and move it to one side because we will be using that one again. Just making it tidy, if you wonder where I've gone. Just going to have some of my drink. That's better. So I've slip stitched into that stitch, and now I'm going to end off with that colour. So to do that, I do a chain, pull it down, and then pull my yarn out. So now we've got something that looks like this, and it's kind of got a gap there, and there is a little gap there in between every corner. So we take our next colour, which is this bright green. It doesn't look the right colour on screen. It's actually a lot more vivid, but it's probably the lighting in here. So I'm going to pull out some yarn and I'll show you how we attach it. So basically we need to attach this to any of our little corner segments, preferably not the one where that is already. So I'm going to go all the way over here, and I'm going to put my hook straight through the gap in between those 2 double crochets, or single in the US, and I'm going to pull my yarn through the same way as I did before and do 1 chain with it, and I'll pull it down, and I'm going to drop the tail and work over it. So I'm going to do my 2 chain. That's why you want to cinch that down as much as possible. So now we're going to do another row of the treble crochet. And remember, that's a UK term, it's a double crochet in the US. So we yarn over into the same gap and pull up our loop, and we're going to do 2, because those 2 chain that we did just then counts as our first stitch, and we're going to chain 1 and do 3 more in that same corner. Sorry if I'm sniffing, it's where I sneezed. Don't have a tissue. So now we've got these gaps, and I'm going to work over that yarn at the same time. And I'm going to do 3 in each of these these side gaps along here. So I'm going to do 3 of these UK treble crochet in the side. We're now making sides, and now we've got to a corner again, and we're going to do the same as we did here. We're going to do 3. I'm still working over that tail. Oh, tails are getting in the way. It's the trouble when there's too many. I'll cut them off in a second. 1 chain, 3 more in that same gap to form a corner. Right, I'm just going to pull that open a little bit, and I'm going to get rid of these tails because we've worked over them. Didn't really that one, so I'll leave that. But these have been worked over, so just going to get rid of them so that they're not in the way and annoying. Okay, so we're just going to continue doing what we've done along here, where we've got a corner, a side and a corner. So now in our gap here, we're going to do 3 UK treble crochet. Remember, that's a double in the US. And then we're at another corner. So again, it's 3 into the gap, 1 chain and another 3. Okay, so what I want you to do, I'm going to pause the video, and I want you to carry on doing 3 in there and your corners in these parts here, 3 in there, work over this tail as you go, and I will pick up with you again once we're here doing this side and we're going to join. So just do exactly the same. If you get confused, then just go back a little way and watch that part again. Okay, so we've got all the way round, and I'm on my last 3 in this gap. And I'm just going to join it to the top of my second chain with a slip stitch, and then cut this yarn off to end that colour. Same way as before, do a chain, cinch it down and pull it through. So as you can see, it does pucker a little bit and it needs a little bit of pulling into shape because it needs to just be kind of told where it needs to go. So I like this, I must admit, this size. I could end on the next row quite happily, but we can go on to subsequent rows, so I will show you how we do that. So we're going to get this dark colour again and pull out a bit more yarn this time because it's grown. Okay, so I'm going to join my yarn to a corner, or anywhere actually, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to join it to this corner, and I will show you how we are going to do our corners and our sides. So I'm going to join it a slightly different way just to show you the difference. So I will pull my yarn through and just tie it. If you didn't like the way it left that little bulky part, so then I just go in and pull my yarn up and 1 chain and cinch it down, and then I can do my stitch. Sorry, I was going to do a chain and I don't need one. I need to do a double crochet in the UK terms, which remember is a single crochet. 1 chain and another one in there because this is our corner. So now we have more along the sides. Before we just had corners, each one was a corner. So I'm going to chain 2, and I've tried this with 3 chain and it's just too much, so I'm going to go in between each of my 3 cluster of 3 and do a double crochet, or single in the US. So that's 2 chain and then my double. So then we'll do 2 chain, and now we're going to make our corner because we're in the corner section, so don't fall out. So that's our double, 1 chain and a double. Now I have tried this with 2 chains in the corner and 3 chains along the side, and both times I feel it's just too many, so I prefer it this way. And that's all we do on this round and subsequent rounds for our sides and corners. So we're just going in our corner now. It's a nice quick round, this one, and in between our sides. I can't really go over the tails on this round. I can snug it down though so that it doesn't get in our way. Oops. And we just do that all the way around. So I'm going to pause the video and I want you to carry on doing our 1 in between our sides and our 2 in the corners, and I will meet up with you when we get back to the start. Okay, so we're on the last bit. We just do our 2 chain and then we slip stitch into there where we started, end that colour and do our ending off of that colour same way as usual. So I think that I like the way that looks, that size. So if you wanted to if you were happy with that size and you wanted to keep it like that, then don't end off the yarn there. But if you want to carry on, we're going to do one more row with this colour. And I will show you the end, how to do the last 2 rows at the very end in our dark green. So if you wanted to end it there, then you need to fast forward this video to the end part and I will show you the last row. But for now I'm going to show you this a new row, so round, and I'm going to join my yarn same way as before with the little knot, and because I think it might be a little bit neater, you might prefer it than the other way. So just pull our yarn through, whoops. So now I'm going to pull it over that to the corner, do my UK double crochet, 1 chain and another double. No, it's not. It's totally the wrong stitch. Oh, I hope you were awake, because I was almost asleep. Of course we're not doing that. That's this row. Silly me. I'll leave my bloopers in to show you that we're all human. So scrub that, take it back. We're going to do our corner. Goodness gracious. Wake up. So our corner is exactly the same as before. Our 3, our 1 chain and our 3 treble crochets. That's the UK treble, of course, US double. And then 3 in each of our sides. Now, where we had 1 side before, we now have 3. And so that's how it grows. Quite a lot each round, which is probably why it does tend to have that little bit of puckering, where you would benefit from blocking it, or you know, maybe it would be fine once you'd sewed it together with others if you're making a blanket or something. But if you're using it as a coaster or a pot stand or whatever you might use it for, you do need to kind of block it or get it into shape somehow. It's not ridiculously out of shape, I don't think. I have seen a lot worse. I find that it just kind of puckers a little bit, if you know what I mean. If you understand what I mean by that. Like a vinyl record that's been in the sun for a little while. But not overly. It's not too bad. Just a tiny bit. So now I'm doing my corner again. And I'll show you, whoops, the side. So here we are. The sides are now growing. And you can see it's already starting to kind of feel like it wants to scrunch a little bit. So yep, this is our sides and we've got our corners. So we just keep going exactly the same way. Our corners, 3, 1 chain and 3. And in our side pieces, 3 in each. So go ahead and do that and I will meet up with you when we get back to this point. Okay, so I'm almost back at the start. And so I'll do my last 3. And I will show you what it looks like now. I'm going to do my slip stitch into my top of my chain and off my colour. So as you can see, it is a little bit wavy and it does need a little bit of blocking to get it into shape, but a lot of hexagons do. So I'm going to show you now how we're going to make the last row. So I think it looked better as a smaller one, but it was very small, so I will show you how to make it this size. But you could just do, instead of doing this one row, you can just do the end the way I'm going to show you now there and make it that size. So attach in the dark green again. Oh, it's very long, got in between. Okay, don't need a ridiculously long tail. And I'm going to grab the yarn, do my chain. So now I'm ready to start. My usual bit in the corner where I do my UK double, chain, UK double, and again we're going to do 2 chain and then 1 in between every cluster. It slips out the way I have to hold it, it's not happy. 2 chain, we're going to do this all the way around just as we did before. When we get to the corner, we're going to make the corner, which is 1 chain and another stitch, and then we're going to do 1 in each of our, between our 3s, our corner, and we're going to keep going until we get back to the start. So I'm going to pause the video and I want you to carry on doing that exactly as I've done. Corner in the corner, so 2 in the corner, 1 in between each of the clusters, and 2 chain to separate them. Okay, so I've got all the way around. I've finished on my 2 chain. I'm going to slip stitch into my beginning, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the center of this gap. So I'm right in the center, and now I'm going to do 1 chain and I'm going to do 3 double crochet in there, all in that corner. That's how we're going to turn our corners. And then in these gaps where we have our 2 chain, we're going to do 3 UK double crochets. So remember, they're single crochets in the US, and we're not going to go in these posts, we're just going to do 3 in each gap. For some reason my yarn wants to pull tight, even though I pulled lots out. Must be stuck on something. And that's basically our final round. Just 3 in each of these along here, each of the sides. One last one. Just work over the tails whenever you can. Helps you out so that you don't have too much sewing in. Now we're at the corner, so we are going to do 3 in that corner just to turn it and get us going in this direction. So again, 3 in each of those gaps. So that's what we're going to do, 3 in the gaps and 3 in the corner, right in the corner where we've done that, where we've got that little tiny gap there. So I'm going to pause it and I'm going to meet up with you when we get back to the start, and I will show you what to do next. Okay, so I'm more or less back to the start. Got my last 3 to do in there, and then all I need to do is slip stitch into the beginning and cut off this yarn and work in my end with a darning needle. And as you can see, it's just a little bit on the puckered side. Just needs that little bit of blocking or sewing together to sort it out. If it was sewn together in a blanket, I think it would be fine. I don't often block things myself, but it's just where it seems to have an awful lot of stitches in these sides. Perhaps that's why, I don't know, but it's a lovely little hexagon, and I actually prefer it this big, I must admit. So I would do this last round after this one here and ignore that altogether because I just think that's nicer, but it does make quite a small hexagon. So that's how to make this emeralds granny hexagon. So thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and bye for now everyone.